The throne cried Maerora's childhood name before she crossed the walls of Aeloria. In the Hall of Boughs, Regent Lethyn stood beneath a crown suspended by chains of living gold. Nobles watched from root-carved galleries, while bound servants held silver lamps around the dais. Then green light split the black marble. A root as thick as a soldier's waist rose between the guests and struck the steps hard enough to break them. Maerora, the ancient wood called again. 30 years had passed since anyone inside the citadel had dared speak that name. Lethyn's ceremonial cup cracked in her hand. Along the walls, royal guards lowered their spears and looked toward Commander Vaelarion. He stood motionless at the foot of the dais, silver hair falling over armor marked with the regent's thorn. He had heard the throne speak only once before, when he was 9, and a terrified little girl had been carried from the palace with a wooden moth clenched in her fist. "Seal the city," Lethyn ordered. Vaelarion raised one hand. Beneath his cuirass, a black oath mark tightened around his heart, warning him what hesitation would cost. He closed his fist, and the western bells began to ring. Beyond the walls, Maerora watched the citadel rise above the Cedar Valley. Its white towers caught the late sun, beautiful enough to make exile seem like a lie. Yet black veins webbed the foundations, and no birds circled the highest spire. The crown root beneath the palace was sick. Maerora was 37 now, an adult elf with auburn braids, thin scars across one cheek, and a royal emerald resting against her sternum. Lethyn had abandoned her in the southern wilds at 7. Hunters had followed for years. She survived because the hidden grove keepers taught her the oldest elven art, memory magic, which could heal rivers, wake forests, or tear open stone, but demanded a personal memory for every great change. She remembered her mother's hand, but not her song. She remembered the nursery window, but not the color of its curtains. She knew a boy had given her a wooden moth on the night of the coup. Yet the face attached to that kindness had faded into silver shadow. At Maerora's feet, a seed split. Fine roots knitted themselves into Solven, a small antlered spirit with leaves instead of fur and amber drops for eyes. "The throne felt you," Solven said. "So did Lethyn. You can still turn south." "If I do, she anchors every ashglass oath to the crown root tonight." Maerora pressed 2 fingers to the emerald. Green gold light flowed into the earth. "I break the glass, free the city, and reclaim what she stole." Solven curled its leaf tail. "That is what you intend. What happens may cost more." Hooves sounded behind them. 3 hunters emerged from the cedars in dark armor, smoky glass embedded at their throats. The shards connected their obedience to Lethyn. Fear could not stop them, mercy could not turn them, and disobedience closed roots around their hearts. The leader leveled a crescent blade. "The pretender will kneel." Maerora opened one hand near her waist and spoke the true name of the cedar beside the road. Roots rose behind the horses, forcing them to turn. She moved between the riders, touched the first bridle, and surrendered the memory of a summer rain she had watched at 16. Green light calmed the animal. Its rider fell, and Maerora caught the second man's ashglass with a ribbon of living magic. The shard came free with a sound like ice breaking. The elf gasped, stared at her, and dropped his weapon by choice. The third hunter fled toward the gate. Now Lethyn knows exactly where you are, Solvin said. She already did. I needed the city to know I can free them. The released hunter touched his bare throat. Princess? Maerora had imagined that word for 30 years. Hearing it brought no triumph, only the weight of an opening door. Tell anyone still able to choose that the western aqueduct will be open at moonrise. Inside the citadel, Vaelarion saw the freed hunter stumble through the gate. The man's glass was gone, and the root beneath his skin had withered to gray. Proof, Vaelarion thought. Not rumor. Maerora had returned with the only power Lethyn feared. He ordered most guards to the northern entrance and left 6 at the western aqueduct. His lieutenant, Elven, understood the deliberate weakness, but asked no question that would force Vaelarion to lie beneath oath magic. At moonrise, Vaelarion entered the dry aqueduct alone. He waited beside a carved basin where 2 children had once cut their initials into stone. Maerora appeared from the dark, with her hood lowered, one hand near her sword. She was harder than the child he remembered, but her green-gold eyes still searched first for the cost of whatever stood before her. You came wearing her armor, she said. It lets me open doors. Do I know you? The question hurt more than hatred. Vaelarion drew a thin cord from beneath his cuirass. A wooden moth hung from it, one wing darkened by age. Maerora stared. You gave that to me. Its twin. You were supposed to place it under your pillow so the night could not find you. A child's spell? We were children. She touched the emerald. I remember the moth, not your face. Memory magic? Its price. Her expression closed. Why are you here, Vaelarion?
Why are you here?
Because Lethyn has bound 12,000 people. Because she intends to make those chains permanent. Because I spent 30 years sending her hunters down false roads. He opened his cuirass enough to reveal black lines circling his ribs. When she discovered that, she buried ash glass beside my heart. I cannot directly cause one of her commands to fail. Yet you came. She ordered me to bring you into the palace alive. For the first time, Maerora smiled. She should choose her words more carefully. They entered the root passage together. At a sealed grill, Maerora whispered the forgotten name of the stream that once fed the aqueduct. Water gathered, became a living root, and lifted the iron from its hinges. She swayed when she stood. Vaelarion caught her elbow. Her emerald flashed, and a strange warmth crossed his oath mark. Both stepped apart. What did it take? He asked. The taste of the first apple I ate after exile. Vaelarion understood that her power was not a weapon she carried. It was an animal feeding on the road behind her. How much can you lose? Enough to win, not enough to become the throne's empty vessel. The lower archive occupied a cavern under the palace where roots made cages around forbidden records. Inside one cage waited Everell, a slender archivist with white ink across their fingertips, and the offended patience of someone whose imprisonment had become inconvenient. You are late, Everell said. You invited them? Maerora asked Vaelarion. I invited myself, Everell replied. Your mother ordered me to open the succession record if the throne spoke your name. It shouted through my floor this afternoon. Court etiquette is clearly dead. Vaelarion broke the cage's command lock. His oath punished him at once, driving him to one knee. Maerora caught the black root before it could close around his heart and fed green magic through it. For 3 breaths, their memories touched. Vaelarion saw 7-year-old Maerora beneath wet cedars, biting her sleeve so hunters would not hear her cry. Maerora saw a boy at a palace window, watching her empty carriage return with blood on one wheel. Then the connection broke, leaving them breathless and far too aware of each other. "That was not supposed to happen," Maerora said. Solvin emerged from a shelf root. "The crown root remembers your paired promise." Everell brushed dust from their robe. "The treaty you carved here as children. Never let the palace make you cruel. It cannot bind adults, but it can make a door. Whether you walk through it remains your choice." From a hidden table, Everell recovered the oath ledgers. Thousands of names were linked in a lattice. Breaking one bond carelessly moved its pressure to the others. Shattering the central glass would contract every root at once and kill most of those bound. The release requires truth from the sovereign who anchored it, Everell explained. "Lethyn will never confess," Maerora said. "Then the crown root must reject her before the glass is broken." Vaelarion looked upward. "It needs another sovereign." "I will not bind myself to the throne merely to unbind others," Maerora said. "It is your throne." That sentence created half this disaster. I came prepared to destroy the crown root if it cannot exist without owning people. Destroy it, and the river wards, bridges, and harvest groves die. You lived beneath its protection. Vaelarion opened his cuirass farther, exposing the roots around his heart. "I lived beneath its knife. Do not mistake disagreement for ignorance." "Then do not mistake your hope for my duty." Everell closed the ledger between them. "You can debate philosophy while Lethyn completes the binding, or steal the heart key and acquire the luxury of choices." They divided the work. Everell would copy the ledgers and warn the servant districts. Vaelarion would move loyal guards away from the reliquary. Maerora and Solvin would cross the sealed nursery wing, enter the winter garden, and take the heart key beneath the old royal pool. Before leaving, Vaelarion offered the wooden moth. Maerora did not take it. "I saved it for you," he said. "Then save it longer. I have not decided whether it proves your loyalty or your need to believe you stayed loyal." He accepted the wound because it was accurate. "Meet me in the winter garden before dawn." "Be there on time," she replied, and vanished into the passage. The nursery was covered in black thorns. At its center stood a glass vessel filled with silver mist. A woman's silhouette drifted within it. Maerora forgot to breathe. "Mother?" The silhouette turned, but Lethyn's voice came through the glass. "Welcome home." The thorns struck. They did not seek blood. They tore at memory. Maerora lost the face of the grove keeper who taught her to swim before she forced green light through the royal emerald and drove the roots back. Solvin bit through the strands holding the vessel while guards battered the door. "She is not alive," Lethyn said through the glass. "Your mother stored her final memories in the crown root before the coup. I collected what remained. You preserved her because you could not open them." For the first time, silence answered. Maerora lifted the vessel. You were never protecting a tomb. You were afraid of what she knew. The guards broke through. Maerora surrendered the memory of the nursery hearth, and stone erupted from the floor in the same shape, dividing the soldiers without crushing them. She escaped through the window with the vessel under one arm, caught a descending root, and slid into the winter garden. Vaelarion waited beneath the only living tree. 6 free guards stood with Elven at the eastern gate. Before Maerora could reach them, bound archers surrounded the balconies. Erund, the northern warlord who had supplied Lethyn's ashglass, entered in frost-gray armor. 30 years improved the resemblance on your wanted portraits, he said. And you must be the foreign blade my aunt hired, because no one born here would kill for her willingly. Everyone obeys when the alternative is chosen for them. Erund raised his hand. The archers drew. Vaelarion drove his sword into the frozen garden pool. An old sanctuary sigil shone beneath the ice. Your blood opens the stair. My rank can hold the gate for 13 breaths. And after 13, Maerora asked, you will be gone. You will not. An arrow shattered the ice beside them. Vaelarion held out both hands for the vessel. 30 years of survival told Maerora never to place what she loved in another person's keeping. The same years had taught her that isolation was not strength. She gave it to him. Their fingers touched around the glass. This time, the shared memory came gently. She saw 17-year-old Vaelarion burn a map that showed her refuge. He saw Maerora wake from fever at 19 with his name on her lips, though she no longer knew whose name it was. Maerora cut her palm and opened the frozen stair. The free guards descended. Vaelarion returned the vessel. Come on the 12th breath, she said. That sounds like an order. A request. Then I choose to obey. He closed the iron vine gate and held back the archers. On the 11th breath, Lethyn's oath seized his heart. On the 12th, Vaelarion fell through the narrowing opening. Maerora caught him. Black roots moved beneath his chest. His breathing stopped. Maerora needed a powerful memory connected to him, freely offered through their paired vow. Only one remained. The wooden moth pressed into her childhood palm, the last kindness before the carriage door closed. Take it, she told the crown root. Green light entered Vaelarion. The ashglass cracked. He drew a ragged breath while Maerora fell against the steps. She saw the carving exposed beneath his armor and knew it mattered, but no longer knew why. What did you give? He whispered. Something I cannot name. Grief crossed his face, yet he did not turn her sacrifice into a claim. He covered her hand with his and waited until she chose whether to leave it there. She did. By dawn, the sanctuary held more than 100 escaped servants, guards, and gardeners. Ivarel arrived with the ledgers. Maerora loosened 20 outer bonds, spending small memories each time. The pattern of a cup, a roadside joke, the smell of rain on one inn roof. When her fingers began to tremble, Vaelarion closed the ledger. Stop. There are thousands. There will still be thousands when you no longer remember your own name. You do not decide what is enough for me. His hand left the book at once. You are right. I am asking you to stop. If you refuse, I will not touch it again. The immediate respect left her nowhere to direct her anger. She studied the freed people, the vessel, and the black roots above them. 1 hour. 1 hour, he agreed. It was the first boundary between them spoken and honored without magic. If Maerora's return has brought you this far into Aeloria, leave a sign below and stay for the choice waiting beneath the throne. Ivarel placed the vessel inside a ring of white roots. It held the queen's final season of memory, not her complete spirit. Releasing it required royal blood and a second witness who remembered the royal person without a crown. Maerora looked at Vaelarion. If we do this, you witness only what the vessel offers. If the root opens my memories, you turn away. Agreed. Can you promise that beneath magic? I can promise to choose it. They knelt opposite each other. Maerora touched the glass. Vaelarion laid 2 fingers on a white root. Ivarel broke the seal. The queen's memories entered the sanctuary like rain. They saw Lethyn conspiring with Aeron's father, who brought the first ash glass from a fossilized forest in the north. They saw the queen refuse to execute her sister because 6-year-old Maerora begged for mercy. Mercy became delay, delay became conspiracy, and conspiracy placed a blade inside the palace. Then they saw the queen meet young Vaelarion in the aqueduct. She gave him 2 wooden moths and a sealed map. One for her, one for you, the queen said. If the map begins to burn, destroy it. Lethyn will watch what you love, so you must make her believe Maerora left alone. Protect the possibility of her return, not your idea of who she will become. The memory shifted to the queen standing before the crown root. The throne cannot choose a sovereign. It can only recognize a covenant freely witnessed. The crown is not inherited power. It is inherited consent, and consent may be withdrawn. Silver mist poured into the roots. Throughout the city, people saw fragments of the truth. Lethyn's conspiracy, the false covenant, the origin of their chains. Truth did not release them, but it changed obedience. Guards delayed. Bakers hid fugitives. Bridge keepers forgot to lower gates. A bound city discovered the 1,000 quiet shapes resistance could take. Black roots suddenly punched through the sanctuary ceiling. Lethyn had felt the release. Maerora did not cut them, because they carried the oath lattice. She grew living cedar around the chamber and guided the tendrils into empty channels, while Vaelarion evacuated the injured. One root caught Elven. Maerora freed him by giving up the memory of her first southern snowfall. They escaped into the old cistern as the sanctuary collapsed. By sunset, Maerora controlled 3 districts without conquering any of them. She stood on an abandoned observatory while green lights answered from free windows below. Beyond the northern wall, Aeron's army gathered. Lethyn had opened the gate to them, trading Aeloria's sovereignty for the force that would keep her on its throne. Vaelarion joined Maerora with 2 cups of cedar tea. Your mother told me not to wait for you, he said. Did you? Not as a lover waiting for a story. You were a possibility I protected because the alternative was Lethyn forever. But I measured choices against what you might want. That was another way of turning you into an idea. In exile, I made ideas of everyone here. Lethyn was a monster. My mother was a saint. You were the faceless boy who represented the last kindness in the palace. And now, Lethyn is still a monster. He laughed softly. My mother was a woman whose mercy helped create a disaster. Maerora continued. And you are a man who survived by compromise, saved lives, and still wore my enemy's crest when I met you. She took the wooden moth from his palm. It carried no memory now, only the knowledge that one had existed. You are also the man who came through the gate on the 12th breath. The air changed between them. Vaelarion did not move closer. Because you asked. Because you chose. Maerora touched the scar crossing his eyebrow. May I? He asked, lifting one hand toward her face. Yes. Their first kiss was quiet, brief, and interrupted by neither prophecy nor magic. The city remained endangered. Nothing was solved. That was why Maerora trusted the moment. It asked to be only what it was. Then Valarion's oathmark turned black. Lethyn's voice rose from the roots. Commander, bring Maerora to the Hall of Boughs before midnight, or every oath attached to your command will close. Screams followed from the streets below. Lethyn had linked 3,412 soldiers to Valarion's heart. If he refused, the lattice would kill them through him. Maerora drew her sword. We reach the hall, and to end this. Attack while the lattice is closed, and every root you break kills someone, Vaelarion said. Let me arrest you. She stared at him.
Very well.
If I obey, the roots loosen. I can bring you within reach of the crown root without triggering them. In chains, surrounded by her army. Alive beneath the throne, with the emerald and the truth of the covenant. And if she kills me first? His eyes held hers. Then I will have delivered you to death. No comforting lie followed. Maerora looked at the moth in her palm. She had no childhood warmth telling her what to do, only the man before her, and the evidence of his choices now. She extended her wrists. No, Ashglass. Never! Solvin comes with me. Yes. If you abandon me in that hall, I will return from death and ruin your next 30 years. That I believe without magic. He used ordinary silver cord. The moment the knot closed, the city's screams subsided. But when he led Maerora through the streets, those who had risen for her saw only their commander delivering the heir to the palace. Hope turned to silence. Celevan blocked them with a sword. Tell me this is not what it looks like. Vaelarion could not explain without undermining Lethyn's command. Maerora answered for him. I allowed it. Protect those who cannot protect themselves. That is my command, if you choose to accept it. Celevan lowered his blade, betrayal still in his face. At the palace steps, Vaelarion whispered, I am sorry. Maerora looked ahead. Be useful. The Hall of Boughs had become a cage. Black branches enclosed the galleries, forcing nobles and prisoners toward the center. The golden crown hung lower over Lethyn. Irond stood at her right with one hand on the heart key, a smoky crystal blade that controlled the oath lattice. Behind him, northern soldiers held Iverel and captured servants on their knees. Maerora noticed 3 things before fear narrowed her attention. The green root that had broken the dais remained alive beneath the black growth. The crown's chains did not end at the ceiling. They disappeared into the lattice, and Lethyn's left hand trembled whenever the crown root pulsed. The regent had not mastered the throne. She was wrestling it. Kneel, Lethyn said. Vaelarion brought Maerora to the first broken step. His oath required delivery, not humiliation. He removed the silver cord and let it fall. Iron frowned. She is not secure. She is alive within the hall, Vaelarion replied. The command is fulfilled. The roots around his heart loosened slightly. Somewhere in the city, thousands drew easier breath. Lethyn descended. 30 years, little leaf. Did you imagine this moment every night? Not every night. Some nights I had a life. The answer wounded Lethyn because she wanted to occupy all of Maerora's exile. She needed every survival to be a reaction to her. You brought southern corruption into my city, the regent said. You turned servants against their houses and roots against those who cultivated them. Your city? Maerora looked at the living root. Ask it. It twisted toward Lethyn. The regent struck it with her cup. Black glass spread from the contact, and the bound crowd cried out. Vaelarion dropped to one knee. The city answers the hand strong enough to hold it, Lethyn said. Then why do you need me kneeling? Silence opened around the question. Maerora climbed the broken step. Irond drew the heart key halfway, but Lethyn stopped him. Killing the heir too soon might turn the crown root against her. She needed surrender witnessed. Even consent performed under threat carried power in the old law. Renounce your claim, Lethyn ordered. Confess that your mother abandoned Aeloria, transfer the emerald to me, and your rebels live. Free? Alive. Iverel tapped 2 fingers against the floor, an old nursery signal for a hidden listener. The queen's released memories were still moving through the roots. The whole city might hear what followed. Say the bargain in full, Maerora demanded. Your bindings use royal vow law. Truth must be spoken by both parties. Lethyn could refuse and expose weakness or comply, and risk the release embedded in her own system. You surrender your blood claim and every authority attached to the emerald. In return, those who submitted to your rebellion will be spared execution. But remain bound. The realm requires order. And you become queen. Lethyn looked up at the crown. Yes. There it was, enough truth to reveal the emptiness of her covenant. Maerora touched the emerald, and the roots carried her voice through every oath mark. I refuse. The black branches contracted. Thousands screamed across Aeloria. Vaelarion collapsed. Iron tore out the heart key and drove it toward Maerora's chest. She turned so the blade struck the emerald instead of flesh. Smoky crystal met green stone. The collision opened the memories contained in both. Maerora saw the northern mine, where ash glass had been cut from a fossilized forest, burned centuries earlier. She saw Lethyn test the first shard on a prisoner, then a guard, then Vaelarion. Irond saw every refuge Maerora lost and every stranger who sheltered her without command. He recoiled from evidence that power could grow without ownership. The heart key cracked. Solvin burst from the emerald in a storm of leaves and struck Aaron's face. Maerora kicked the blade away. Now! She shouted. Vaelarion rose. Instead of attacking Lethyn, he turned to the royal guards and drove his sword into the floor. For 30 years, my rank made you answer for my choices, he said through the command roots. I return every oath freely given and reject every oath imposed. Let their cost fall on the commander who carried them. Black light erupted from 3,412 marks. Secondary roots withdrew from soldiers throughout the city, and rushed into Vaelarion through his sword. He had learned from the queen's memory that a willing witness could take a burden before a false sovereign sealed it. He had hidden the plan because Maerora would never have accepted the price. His sacrifice freed the army and began to kill him. Guards tore glass from their throats. Some fled. Others turned on Aeron's troops. Elven burst through the western doors with the free companies. The hall became a battle of chosen loyalties. Maerora fought toward Vaelarion, but Aeron blocked her. The broken key fused to his gauntlet. He chose death for servants. That is why men like him never keep thrones. He never wanted one. Aeron swung. Maerora could have shattered his weapon, but the backlash would run through the bound crowd. She fought without the easy spell, using the low southern stance he did not recognize. He was stronger. She was faster. He drove her against a pillar and raised the blade. Maerora spoke the name she had learned when their memories collided. Vaelarion. It was the true name of the dead forest within the glass. Every shard in the hall remembered it had once been living wood. Green shoots emerged through Aeron's gauntlet. Across the galleries, ash glass split without severing its human bonds. Tiny leaves opened on black edges, and stolen memories poured back into the crown root. Aeron screamed as thousands of lives pressed into his mind. Make it stop! Maerora could have let them consume him. Revenge offered itself as justice. Then she saw Vaelarion dying because he had taken burdens rather than pass them on. She put her palm against Aeron's gauntlet. Release what was never yours. The green shoots tore free. The heart key became ash. Aeron fell unconscious, alive but powerless. His army saw their commander broken and their contracts burning green. Many surrendered. Those who continued met Aeloria's freed guards. Maerora reached Vaelarion. Black roots covered his chest and throat. His fingers moved once against the floor. No time. Lethyn stood beneath the crown, cutting its chains one by one. Each severed link transferred another part of the lattice into her blood. When the last broke, killing her would kill everyone still bound. Maerora could heal Vaelarion now and let Lethyn finish, or stop the regent and allow him to die. Either path turned love into defeat. Vaelarion closed his hand around her wrist. Their paired vow carried one clear thought. Do not make me the reason the city remains enslaved. Maerora touched her forehead to his. Do not make the city your excuse for leaving me. She placed the wooden moth in his palm. Hold this. You once said it could keep the night away. I no longer remember believing you, so prove it again. His fingers closed around the carving. Only one golden chain remained. Maerora faced the dais. Come closer, Lethyn called. Watch what your mother was too weak to finish. Maerora climbed. Solvin circled the green root beneath the throne, searching for an opening. Iveril crawled toward Vaelarion with the succession ledger, though no written law could solve what the living covenant required. You were right about one thing, Maerora told her aunt. False things can rule for a long time. Longer than people live. That is all rule requires. No, it requires everyone beneath it to forget there was a choice. Lethyn cut the final chain. Maerora caught the crown before it touched her head. Gold links wrapped around both women. The hall vanished, replaced by a forest made of memory. Every tree held a life connected to the realm. Thousands had black cords around their roots. At the center stood the first tree, split between living wood and ash glass. Lethyn appeared as she had been during the coup. You cannot defeat me without taking my place. The network demands an anchor. A witness, Maerora corrected. Not an owner. The crown's chains urged her to claim the accumulated power. With it, she could command every soldier, heal Vaelarion, silence every rival, and force the realm to love her. The temptation did not feel cruel. It felt efficient. Exile did not make you kind. Lethyn said, pain only made you certain you paid for the right to punish. The words found a truth Maerora feared. She had imagined revenge until it sometimes wore the face of justice. A part of her wanted the city to kneel and admit what it had allowed. Perhaps I am not different, Maerora said. Lethyn smiled. That is why no one should hold this alone. Maerora broke the crown across the split trunk. Gold became liquid light and poured into the whole forest instead of one bloodline. Lethyn seized her arm. Without the crown, the river wards fail. The bridges fall. The winter groves die. Only if the crown root refuses a new covenant. It requires 2 free witnesses. Yours is dying. Maerora found Vaelarion's tree smothered in black cords. A wooden moth rested at its roots. The covenant needed a royal claimant and someone who knew the person without the crown. It did not require the witness to stand beside her, only to choose freely. She opened their paired vow. She did not command Vaelarion to live or ask for another sacrifice. She offered the truth of what she wanted. I want a life with you, not a death that proves you loved me. In the hall, Vaelarion heard her. He answered with the memory of the observatory when Maerora stepped toward him by choice. I choose the woman who returned, not the princess I imagined. Their truths met beneath the first tree. The new covenant opened. Power did not flow down from the throne. It moved outward from every willing person in Aeloria. Guards chose to defend the hall. Servants chose to carry the injured. Gardeners called living roots through stone. Some nobles renounced the privileges attached to false vows. Each choice became a leaf, each free promise a branch. The crown root accepted no command that could not be withdrawn. Black cords fell. Ash glass slid from thousands of bodies and turned to gray soil. The roots around Vaelarion's heart loosened, and he drew one ragged breath. Lethyn's young face aged. People choose badly. They choose fear and liars. They chose me. Some did, Maerora said. Others were never allowed to choose. You will beg for control the first time freedom costs you. Then someone must be free to stop me. The first tree grew through its glass half, not erasing the burn, but transforming it into dark grain within new wood. Lethyn reached for Maerora's throat. Without stolen magic, she was one frightened woman. Maerora caught her wrist. For one breath, she could destroy the ant who abandoned and hunted her. The forest would allow it. Maerora released her. You will live long enough to hear every person you bound. It was not mercy for Lethyn. It was Maerora's refusal to make vengeance the first law of her reign. The memory forest dissolved. Maerora returned to the hall on her knees. The broken crown lay before her, already sprouting leaves. Ordinary guards surrounded Lethyn. None needed magic to know what came next. Maerora found Vaelarion sitting against a pillar with Everil beside him. The roots had vanished, leaving bruised lines across his chest. When he saw her, he tried to stand and failed. She crossed the hall before anyone could kneel. You stayed.
I needed to know if you felt
12th
it.
breath, he whispered. The phrase touched an empty place. She knew it mattered, even if its first history was gone. She opened his hand and found the moth. Did the root take the observatory memory? She asked. No. Not from me either. The Covenant had accepted what they offered without consuming it. Freely shared memory could multiply instead of diminish, a truth Ashglass had never understood. Maerora kissed him in the ruined hall while prisoners rose, and the old throne grew leaves. Their love was not a reward after victory. Their choice had been part of the victory. When she stood, hundreds watched her. Some had served Lethyn willingly and waited to see whether the returning heir would answer tyranny with another wide punishment. Maerora climbed the cracked dais, but did not lift the crown. Lethyn's bindings are ended. So is the law that allowed any sovereign to own an oath. No promise made under threat will carry magic. No rank will bind a life without the right of refusal. The crown root will hold only covenants freely witnessed and openly renewed. A noble asked, Who rules until those laws are written? I do. The answer held no false humility. Maerora had not crossed 30 years to pretend she lacked a claim or the will to use it. But my covenant may be withdrawn. My decisions may be challenged. The throne will no longer make obedience sacred. Then what makes you queen? Lethyn asked from between her guards. Their choice after they know what I intend. No one knelt. The pause was the most honest sound Aeloria had made in 30 years. Everil stood and placed a white-stained hand over their heart. I witnessed the covenant. Saelavan followed, then servants, guards, gardeners, healers, and nobles. They remained standing. Their gesture was consent, not submission. Vaelarion was last. He rose painfully and placed the wooden moth in Maerora's open palm. He did not salute a commander or bow to a queen. I witnessed Maerora, he said. The crown root flowered. Green light traveled through every street, bridge, river ward, and harvest grove. Black veins vanished from the citadel. Iron's remaining soldiers saw living roots rise at the northern gate and surrendered before dawn. Maerora destroyed her enemies without becoming their mirror. Iron's contracts became ash. Lethyn's false covenant was dismantled, and the machinery that made cruelty permanent could never be used again. Some enemies died in the fighting, but victory was measured by the people who survived free. Lethyn lost title, property, and magic after 41 days of public testimony, then was sentenced to restore the names of those she had bound. Aerend was sent north to face the valley communities he had ruled through debt and glass. Their systems of power died before they did, and neither could ever command through Ashglass again. Victory did not return Maerora's lost memories. She never recovered the first southern snowfall, the nursery hearth, or her mother's song. Vaelarion's black roots left silver-gray scars around his ribs, and cold mornings made his hands tremble. Healing became something they practiced, not a miracle declared at the end of danger. The first months of rule tested Maerora's promises. Harvest wards failed because the old magic depended on coerced labor. Free guards demanded pay the treasury lacked. Houses challenged taxes while expecting protection. Freedom did not organize itself because tyranny had fallen. Maerora made mistakes. During a fever outbreak, she closed the southern road without consulting villages that depended on it. The council withdrew consent. Her first instinct was fury. People might die while messengers debated. Vaelarion did not accuse her of becoming Lethyn. He asked her to explain the danger and listen to healers who knew the road. Together, they created quarantine crossings. The fever remained contained, and fewer families went hungry. Their romance did not become effortless after the Hall. Maerora sometimes mistook independence for refusal. Vaelarion hid pain because usefulness had protected him so long that vulnerability felt like disobedience. They argued over the guard, the Northern Treaty, and his role beside the Queen. In the months that followed, they learned each other beyond memory and destiny. Vaelarion disliked sweet wine, loved music, and could not sing. Maerora slept with a blade beneath the left side of the mattress, sang beautifully, and remembered only 4 full songs. Neither was the person imagined during 30 years apart. That became the foundation of their love, not its disappointment. 1 year after the broken crown, the Hall of Boughs filled again. No crown hung above it. Its gold had been melted into leaf-shaped tokens, one for every community in the Covenant. Representatives returned annually to renew, amend, or withdraw their promises. Maerora stood beneath the first branch, wearing no jewel except the royal emerald. Solvin, grown from a seed creature into an antlered guardian, slept beside the dais with leaves scattered across its back. Vaelarion entered through the western doors after 2 months in the north. Winter dust silvered his boots, and a new scar marked one hand. "The valley houses signed," he told Maerora. Voluntarily, loudly, and after 14 days arguing about grain measures. "Then it is a real treaty." He held out the wooden moth. One wing remained dark with age. The other had been repaired with living green wood grown around the break without hiding it. "Solvin helped," he said, "mostly by criticizing my hands." The spirit opened one amber eye. "His carving lacks botanical discipline." Maerora took the moth. No childhood memory returned. Instead, she remembered Vaelarion telling her she looked like herself. His fall through the gate, the boundary honored over the ledger, the observatory kiss, the silver cord, and the choice that reached beneath the throne. The moth no longer represented the last kindness before abandonment. It represented what they built after return. "There is another covenant to consider," Vaelarion said. He did not kneel. Too much of their world had confused love with submission. He offered a folded page. Elven royal marriages had once bound houses through blood and made separation a magical crime. Those laws were gone. Couples now wrote renewable covenants with terms chosen together. 7 years, Vaelarion said. "Then we renew by choice. Separate offices, equal right to leave, no memory as collateral, no magical obedience, disagreements permitted, especially before breakfast." Maerora unfolded the page. Beneath the legal terms, he had written, "We promise not to protect an idea of each other at the expense of the person standing before us." Tears blurred the sentence. She let them. A queen could cry without turning grief into law. You made it renewable. A covenant that cannot be withdrawn is only a beautiful cage. And if I want longer than 7 years, ask me again in 7. Everel waited with white ink. Elven stood among the free guard. Representatives from groves, rivers, valleys, and former servant districts watched without being commanded to approve. Maerora met Valerion's eyes. I choose 7 years. So do I. They signed. The crown root did not thunder or bind their wrists. A single green shoot emerged from the repaired wing of the moth and opened into a white flower. The magic recognized their promise without owning it. Vaelarion touched his forehead to hers. Do you think the night can still find us? Maerora listened to the living city beyond the doors. Night would find them. So would winter, disagreement, loss, and all the ordinary failures no spell could prevent. Reclaiming a throne had not ended uncertainty. Destroying her enemies had not destroyed fear. Love had not restored what exile took. But she was no longer the child carried into darkness, and he was no longer the boy watching an empty carriage return. Let it come, she said. This time, we know the way home. Behind them, the roots of the old throne opened into leaves.